What is up, winning team? Hello, and welcome to part 7 of our series, The Misogyny in Religion. And yeah, if you want to know what this is all about, go and check out the video in the intro. Listen, I'm not going to explain it all again, but we're just going through this conversation between 8 ladies from 8 different cults who came together to have a conversation about their experiences, and we're going to head straight back into it. I was just laughing because anybody who's from the winning team who's watching this, isn't it funny how I really go through these story arcs where there's like one particular subject area that I just talk about for like a month or something, or maybe I don't know, however long, because like all of a sudden we're talking about misogyny. Like, anyway, I never thought we'd see the day. I never thought I would actually choose to speak about it, because I hate speaking about things about men and women because I don't want to seem divisive, because I'm not trying to be divisive at all. Okay, so let's continue. So we were talking about the reasons why the ladies were ignoring their intuition, and how people were able to get them to ignore their intuition or to ignore the red flags. So the lady who comes from the Mennonite cult, which is an Amish one, says the church looks attractive. So, from the outside looking in, the people who are getting involved, the people who are interested, they make it look and seem like something you want to be involved with, so from that standpoint, that's why, like I said, they make it look, a lot of them do that. They make it look like we're living these happy lives and these whatevers. And obviously people play up to it because they're being convinced that they're living a better life. And if somebody's also telling you that you are, sometimes you're just being told is enough to kind of get you to believe it. That makes sense. But she then went on to explain how at the end of the day, though, everybody is out for themselves and will turn on you at any point and any time to preserve themselves. So it's another one of these like bird in a gilded cage kind of situations where you look outside looking in. People might think, oh, this community, they're so stable functioning, this whatever, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, similar to like One Piece, Dressrosa. And she said it's a slow burner as well, which I think is a lot of it. I think a lot of these things, a lot of ways, I've said this to you guys before, that, manipulative people, oftentimes, people that work for the kingdom of darkness, a lot of times their ways of getting away with stuff is by being a slow burner. Like, it's not that on day one they hit you with everything. They kind of just entice you. Similar to like with Scientology. You guys know I've done the whole Scientology series. I went to visit the Scientology place in Scotland, and the one also in New York as well. And it's the same old story, right? They don't throw you in with all the stuff that we all know about Scientology, but what they do is they just give you in a little bit of like, oh, we're just here to help. Yeah, we're just having a conversation. Just check out some of our stuff and maybe come to one of the meetings. We're not trying to tell you you're going to get anywhere too fast, but in reality, they really are quite aggressive, without seemingly being aggressive. But the thing is also for her that she mentioned, I thought was interesting, hence why I wrote it down, is that you're automatically worse off for having been anywhere else before as well. So they're not really telling you that. It's almost like you're tainted from having like the outside information or having lived outside of the community. And I also think that's kind of a way to maintain, to be able to bring new people in, but also to maintain the people being there, wanting to stay there, because they feel like they're almost like they're the purebreds, like we're the purebred. We've been here like for generations and generations, and this is what we do. And like it probably even helps to reinforce those people that have already been there. Isn't it crazy how these things work? And she said also that they like to do a lot of works out there. So for example, they do a lot of mission work. She talked about how they like to even do like work going to visit prisons, even adopting prison babies. But she said that she feels that they were just doing it for the sake of feeling good about themselves. And we all know that that's a big part of religion that I hate. It's one of the reasons I do not in any way, shape and form want to present myself in any way that makes me look like I think I'm better than anybody or I'm above anybody, because I don't want that, because I don't believe that's what the Lord's intent was. Jesus didn't come in a manger and didn't come in the way that he did, humbly, for no reason. You know what I mean? It's for him to say that this outwardly stuff, all of this means nothing. It's all about what's on the inside. It's all about what's on the other side. On the inside, on the other side. You know what I'm saying? What's on the inside of you and what's on the other side of this experience that we have. So, yeah, really interesting stuff there. We then move to the lady, the Mixim lady, the kind of self-help, self-growth, life coaching kind of vibes. And she said, and hers was quite interesting the way that she described it, because it's almost like, kind of like how the Scientology people do, where they reel you in by giving you these kind of new ways of thinking. So in Scientology, it was very much, Scientology, it's not a being, it's a doing. That's one of the things they said to me. It's not a being, it's a doing. Right. So we're not believing in something. We're actively, through science, which is not really science at the end of the day, because even being a thetan, that comes from the word theta, meaning like a spirit, whatever. If I'm remembering correctly. They have these steps that they take. They explain to you. So when I went into the Scientological place and I was coming in as like a scientist, they very much went more down the scientific route. When I came in and I was more like, struggling in the areas of relationships, they had a lot more down the relationship route. So they basically find where your weak point is, and kind of use that as like, we can kind of help you with that. And obviously, as you guys know, when I went to the one in New York, I made up a whole story. I made up a whole story. Yeah. Anyway, so getting everyone to agree that they were so with this Mixum lady, she was saying that the first thing that they did, it's kind of their method, was getting everyone to agree they were there to work on themselves, right? So this is two things. You're immediately, first of all, seeing other people. So it's two levels to that level of manipulation. First of all, you're getting people to agree as a group, like as a group. So now you have the group accountability. You don't want to let the side down. That's one of the most powerful tactics, actually, with a lot of these, I would say with a lot of religious groups, and particularly cults and stuff, is you now feel responsible to be a part of this group. So you now also don't want to let your side of the team down. Now, obviously, that is very much a team mentality. A team mentality is we all stand up, do our part, do it together. But again, as I said to you guys, this is what the enemy does. He takes things that are good and he twists them into a way to use against you. So that's great when you're in a team of people and you're working with people who love and care about you, have your best interests at heart. You're working towards a common goal that's going to bring success, happiness, joy, love, whatever for you guys as a group. When you're doing this for the sake of forming some kind of what will become a trauma bond, and where you all agree together to continue to remain as slaves to these tyrannical cult leaders, that's another story. And so there's that portion. Then there's also the you portion of you making an internal decision, because there's something about making internal decisions that I don't know if people really think about, but when you make an internal decision, that is quite powerful. You know what I mean? And then again, also this is another thing I feel like is very much a weakness, more so for us as women, because it's all fun and games. If it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna make friends, there's gonna be other people there, and we're more susceptible to just loving, those types of, not to say that men don't, but I'm saying like to getting caught up in it, even if it's not necessarily making sense. But like, I met this cool girl today and she's like, whatever. So she said, so successful people also have things to work on. So basically, this is how they build it, right? So the first stage is everyone agrees that we're all here to work on ourselves. Now that we're all agreeing that we're all here to work on ourselves, we're working towards success, we can also now, and this is the next thing that they tell them, we can also now acknowledge that successful people also have things that they need to work on. That's another truth, right? You see how we go from truth to truth, the same thing that all these different things do, whether it's Scientology, all these things, they take you on a pathway of truth. And then at some point there is a detour. So they then say, this can be uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable to have to change, to have to grow for your success. That's truth. And then now they're saying, so you found what you need to work on. And herein lies the manipulation tactic, because now they get to define what that is. We've agreed we're all here to work on the same thing, right? We've agreed that even successful people have things they need to work on, right? Truth, and then the truth. We've agreed that that can sometimes be uncomfortable, truth. But then now, the manipulation, well, who gets to dictate which of those uncomfortable things is actually the uncomfortable thing that needs to actually be addressed, and which thing is uncomfortable because it's something that we need to be listening to our intuition, which is exactly what this whole section is about. What got you to ignore your intuition? So it's just another tactic to get people from listening to for people in general, but this is particularly to do with women. This whole series is about, our experiences. um they get you to take yourself off of your focus of yourself, and then into this twisting and manipulation, right? And so the other one that came up quite a lot, suffering. And this came up especially apart from Christianity, you know. Like I said, the pick up your cross every day. So you got to suffer. We suffer now because our good time is only coming in heaven. And then went on to, we're going to come on to the afterlife next. We'll talk about suffering, and then we'll talk about the afterlife next, because the afterlife conversation was really, really very, very interesting. But yeah, like, you know, they come to you this idea that, yes, of course you're suffering somewhat in this. Suffering is good. And that is another thing in Christianity, that this is the thing, the bit when they got to it, hearing them talk, this was so helpful to me in my personal journey at the moment, because as you guys know, I've been wrestling, not because of Christians, but because of my own life experiences, because I do feel like, and to be clear, you know, I'm better off than a lot of people in the world. But as far as like my quality of life, you know, I'm not necessarily happy at this moment. I'm not loving everything. I really very I'm not happy with virtually any of my circumstances outside of my relationship with God and you guys, and you know, whatever, and a few other people that I've met. Outside of that, I'm not really happy with the state of my life, and I'm not really feeling like life is that much worth it. You know, I do kind of feel like the lie that the enemy keeps telling me that I'm struggling with basically is that it's my destiny to just always suffer. Like I will always feel like this. I'll always feel like life is an inconvenience. I'll always like just have to put up with whatever has been given to me, and that's all that I ever am gonna get. I do feel like a lot of part of why I feel like that is because feeling like as a woman, I do feel like, so I feel despair sometimes at how helpless I feel, like in a world where, you know, these types of things are happening. Like, this is what I'm saying, this stuff is triggering. I'm like, God, this place is such a hard place to live in. Like, it's so hard to be here. Like, I genuinely feel like it's just like, why bother? You know what I mean? When you know, you're gonna just be taken advantage of. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you do good, because you get taken advantage of. If you're damned if you don't do good, because now you're doing bad, and so you're gonna be damned. And like, so, you know, I that when they were discussing that, I have to say, it kind of, me hearing other people saying like what I know to be a lie, but what I also kind of a lie that I still struggle not to believe. It did kind of help me a little bit more, be like, you know what, you really need to let go of that. You know what I mean? Because God doesn't want that for you. And I know he doesn't. I know that's a lie. But I also know that the fact that I'm telling you that, even in me making this series, and even as far as I've come, that is something I'm still struggling with as of the exact moment I'm talking about as I'm making this video, just goes to show how strong the work is. And I wasn't even in a deep level cult like this. Did I deal with a lot of people like these cult leaders? Yes. That's why I can really resonate with a lot of the stories that these women are sharing, because I what's the word? I recognize the experience, and I can sympathize with them, like from personal experience, not even just putting myself in their shoes. These manipulation tactics, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, suffering is also very much used as a tool. Just saying that, yeah, you're supposed to suffer, this is good, you're doing what's right, this is, you're like, because it kind of does make sense, right? Jesus, we're told to be Christ-like as Christians. This is the conversations I've been having with the Lord back over and over and over again. I'm like, Jesus had to suffer though, like, we do have to pick up our cross. So where do we draw the line? Where is the line? That's why I just said, excuse me, like the previous video, I was like, where is the line? I've been asking God, where's the line between picking up your cross and your burden is easy and your yoke is light? Because I feel very much on the carrying my cross, and I'm not really feeling light burden or an easy burden or a light yoke whatsoever. I'm feeling a heavy burden and a heavy yoke. You know what I mean? It's not feeling like bliss. Like, my life is not feeling, I'm feeling the love, but I'm not feeling the abundance love. You know what I mean? And as in, like, not the love of the abundance love, but the abundance that comes. Because, you know, Jesus came to give us life and life abundantly. I'm feeling the life, but I'm not feeling the abundant life, basically is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, we're working through it. But I can just say that I know that it's not true. The suffering, that is the actual lie of the enemy. And again, because if we accept those lies, then we just allow our lives to look like that. And that's a lesson I had to learn, is that because I accepted the lies, I allowed my life to look like that. I allowed people to mistreat me. I allowed a lot of things I shouldn't have allowed. I allowed myself not to even, like, do what I want to do. And so I've started spending, like, this year, I've been spending a lot of time just doing whatever the heck I want to do. I don't have to tell nobody nothing. I don't care if people think it's a bad or a good idea. I don't care. It's part of me healing this part of me that feels like I have to, in order to, and again, it's ingrained since I was, I grew up in church. It's ingrained that, suffer like Christ suffered, live in poverty because, all these things, So yeah, I very much resonated. I was very appreciative for that section of the video because it made me really think, and really made me think in my head, like, yeah, you're really being ridiculous. Because why would the Lord, who you believe loves you, who you believe is good, why would he want you to suffer? That makes no logical sense. So why do you keep acting like that's what has to happen? It's just that for me, and I have to be very honest about saying this, the idea of thinking that the idea of me actually living a happy life is, like, I actually feel like crying right now. Like, I don't even want to dream about it, because I don't want to dream about it if it's not going to happen. That's the thing. That's how deep it goes. That's how deep it goes, that I've been that convinced. Like, I don't even want to think about the good things that could happen, because I'm scared, like, to get excited for things that don't end up actually happening, right? Because then the voices come back of the, yeah, well, you're suffering because somebody has to suffer, because, it's crazy. So these things, they do a number on people, and I understand. And a lot of the reasons of my suffering, the things, because a lot of the things that I would love to do if I was to give up on the suffering would involve men and women, of which I don't want to trust either. And since I won't get into the women portion of this today, but in terms of the male thing, it's all the stuff I told you about. I don't want to be around men under any context, or work with them in any context, because I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want the risk of, oh, we're working together as a team on this, working in business on that, we're friends with this, with that. I don't want none of that, because I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want to have to be, like, to me, it's an opportunity for absolute chaos. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, that's why the enemy can keep lying to me about the suffering thing, because I'm like, you see what I'm saying? It's all these things. I'm just saying that this is my opinion from a woman, and I don't know how I'd feel differently if I was a man. I would love to, in a way, be able to understand how differently it is, but I don't know. From my perspective, if I was a man, I would go about my life really differently. That's one thing I can tell you. And yeah, that's one of those things where I'm like, because I don't want to just, like, get myself all excited about, like, life being better than it has been, or to just be taken advantage of all over again, used and abused and, manipulated. And it just sounds like way too much work trying to do, like, rocket science level algebra just to make sure that somebody's not going to take advantage of me in any way, shape and form. And that's why I don't even want to have a simple conversation with literally anyone, really. That sounds crazy, but I'm just being honest. Listen, I'm being honest. The whole purpose of this whole series, like I said, is I'm airing out how I feel, so that we can all, like, kind of like open up our minds and our hearts to where we're coming from, so we can actually, like, solve the problems rather than be at odds with each other. Like I said, it's not that I'm not interested. I just have certain fears, and those fears open the door for other things, and those are not coming from God. And again, these where your intuition, of course. So my intuition is telling me, obviously, that's what I'm saying. It's about between my intuition thing. My intuition tells me, obviously, the Lord doesn't want you to suffer. Obviously, God wants me to be happy. But then I'm like, how do I even know how to trust my intuition? Because I haven't been trusting it, because I've become so used to not trusting my intuition, because I've become so used to being manipulated, that now I don't trust myself to choose at all. I don't trust myself to choose, to have the intuition to choose the right friends. I don't feel like I have the intuition to make the right decision about anything now, because I'm so used to dulling it down, that, like, now trying to bring it to the forefront, I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. It's like now a new skill that I'm going to have to just develop. And again, there's going to be mistakes made. There's probably going to be heartbreak. There's probably going to be all sorts that I'm just going to have to learn the hard way. And I'm just like, yeah, wow, this is such a great time being on planet Earth. Love it here. Just love it so much. Literally so happy to be alive. So happy to be here. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to leave that there. I know that's a bit of a somber note, but we're going to start talking about the afterlife, because these things about the afterlife get really crazy. They get really, really crazy about what these different religions believe about the afterlife. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this. I know it sounds insane, and I can't believe I'm in the place of my life where I'm actually talking about this kind of stuff on YouTube. It's crazy. But I'm happy to, because, Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it at some point. Somebody's got to have the bollocks to just say how they really feel and be honest. And if that's somebody got to be me, I guess it's going to be me. Anyways, you guys, if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.